So this week I'll be starting a new series called Self-Service. So if you want to find out why you need to focus on the self and why you need to focus on the me, stay tuned in. This is episode 1 of Self-Service, and in this episode I'm just going to discuss why you need to focus on yourself. Okay, so why it's so important to do that. Just to put everything into context, about 2 years ago I went through a breakup, and guys, it's so normal for you to go to your friends, right, when you're going through your downtime and you just want support more than anything, and comfort. So I went to my friends and I was crying. I was in tears on campus. And I remember how some of my friends were saying to me, you need to wipe your tears because you can't afford the world seeing you like this. You know, you can't afford to have the world see you in tears and breaking down and being torn apart. And they said they're saying this because I've portrayed a certain image in the eyes of people, and now people don't expect me to sort of break. Okay, and that's when I realized that it's really important to define who you are, because honestly, if you don't do it, then the world will do it for you. So how I started my self journey is I started journaling. And yes, I've always been a person who journaled, like my family members even know this, but I think what I've started doing then was journaling with a purpose. Okay, and I've started to ask now like relevant questions, and I've started to, like, I had to go all the way down and ask the basics, things such as, do I like coffee, do I like tea, do I like sugar in my coffee, do I like cremora in my tea? And yeah, you know, things as basic as those. And as I'm saying, if you don't define even the basics, then the world will do it for you. So I found out quite interesting things while I was doing that journal. And so I found out that, okay, I have 2 favorite colors. So the one is pink, which everyone knows of, and then the other one is mustard yellow. And then I also found out that I don't like milky things, you know, things with milk. So I don't like your yogurts and your ice cream. And although I found myself eating a lot of those things, for example, I ate a lot of yogurt because it was part of my diet and it made me feel healthy, I really didn't like it. So those are some of the interesting things that I found through journaling. Okay, and guys, it was such a difficult thing, like I sort of had to redefine who I am. Okay, because for the longest time in my life I was this pillar of strength to a lot of people. I was this person who met the expectations of people, and now I had to redefine who I am. Okay, and when you are someone like me, who, well, my psychiatrist describes as something that you only find in a museum, okay? You aspire to be it, you aspire to look like it, but you know it'll never be a reality. When you're someone like that, people they can't relate to you, okay? And because they can't relate to you, when you do humanly stuff, it's a shock to them. Okay, so you're shocking the ecosystem basically. So it was quite difficult for me, but I read the book The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, and guys, can I tell you, like, that woman is phenomenal. Okay, I've always known how phenomenal she is through her series because I've watched Scandal and Grey's Anatomy. But when you read that book, you realize how phenomenal she actually is. And for me, it was in that year, it was basically my year of saying no. Okay, so I've been so used to saying yes to so many people, to so many things, that sometimes I don't even have the time to do, or sometimes I really just don't want to do, but because I can't find it in myself to say no, I found myself doing them anyway. Okay, so I had to now say no to a lot of things. And I remember the first day it happened, guys, I could literally see the number of my Facebook friends decline, the number of my Instagram friends decline, the contact on my WhatsApp list, it declined. I could literally see my circle grow smaller. So it was quite difficult. It really was, and it was shocking, because I lost people whom I really thought were friends, and it turned out they really weren't. Okay, we weren't on the same page. So as shocking and as surprising as it was, it had to happen. It needed to be done. So that is a stage that I had to then go through. But just to go back on the importance of self, of focusing on self and going through the self journey, I was one of those people who had the okay, well, the saying that says wherever the wind blows you go. Like, that saying fits perfectly into my life, because anything and everything defined me, guys. In a year that I found myself exceeding academically, then I'd be an A student, and then in a year where I'm getting a 60, I'd have to now redefine myself and find a new definition. And it made me really look like an indecisive person. It really did. So you don't want to go through that, Yes, it's okay to grow and it's okay to develop and go through certain changes, but you don't want to shift and change each and every day. There are certain things that you need to be decisive on. And I think the your definition specifically, is one of them. Okay. So yeah, that was the journal part of it. And besides the journal part of it, guys, what also contributed to my self journey is I've found myself previously being able to contact people and ask them, do you want to go out for coffee? And I'd always have a person available to go out with. But now I'd have to now sit down and question, do I really need this coffee date? And how is it going to add value to my life? What purpose is it going to add? So I ask myself those nitty-gritty questions now before I do anything. And that's why I'll find myself sitting at home instead of being at a movie date or missing out on friends' parties, because I just don't do things anymore for the sake of doing them. Okay? I've taken such cognizance of taking things that add value to me, taking things of essence, and bringing them much more closer to me, and making sure that I keep those, because I don't want to find myself going through the feeling of fear of having to lose someone because I said something and that might have made us drift apart. I think I want to be sure of my circle and who I keep in it, right? So for me, at least, that's why focusing on myself, that's why focusing on the me is so important. It's the whole idea that I don't want the world defining who I am. I should be the one who knows me best. So I should be the one to say, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what defines me, and this is what doesn't. I don't want the world doing that for me, because the world is such a cruel place, and I'm telling you, they'll find and do anything to define you the way they see best. Now, whether that works for you or not, they really don't care. So I would just like to know from you guys, especially from the people who have started the self journey, what was it like to start? You know, to start focusing on yourself, to start saying yes to you. What are the feelings that you experienced? What are the experiences that you had to go through? And how did people treat you? You know, because I think the biggest thing is people sort of distance themselves from us when we focus on ourselves. They tend to label us as selfish or self-centered, and no one ever talks about the importance and why we need to focus on ourselves. We always self-centered and self-absorbed. So I just want to know, just drop a comment and just tell us what it was like to start your self journey. Until next week for the next episode, goodbye.